This is my second attempt to do a chat about Martin Luther. The first one got taken down. So I went back and listened to it and tried to see why they took it down. And those things are just algorithms climbing through data and looking at things that are would be considered offensive, but they don't really take in the greater context of what the whole video was saying. And so if I look at it, I read some of Luther's quotes, and they are horrific. They are worth taking down. And the name of his book is, I'm not going to say it because I don't know if that was part of what, but it's The Jews and Their Blank, and you can look it up if you care that much. But it's in today's world, that kind of language it would be really offensive. It was offensive. So let's talk. So Martin Luther in 1517, he was an Augustinian friar. He was in what is today Germany, and he tacked up 99 theses on the door of a church, I guess. And what's interesting about it is that there's two things I think that Luther brought to the conversation that changed all of Christianity. I mean, his 99 Theses rocked Christianity. The primary point he was making was that indulgences, which was basically giving the church money and getting forgiveness in return, was not effective. It wasn't true. It wasn't the truth. And that the truth was that you were saved by faith as a gift of grace and not by giving money. And so that was one contribution that he gave to Christianity. And the second contribution I think he gave is that he translated the Bible into German. So he put the Word of God in the vernacular, which then Tyndale did in England and people did all over Europe, is so that the common guy could read a Bible. And that started lots of dialogues because now people could see for themselves what was in there. And so those were two really positive things. And I happen to be Protestant. My daughter is Catholic. I don't think that I don't think either are perfect. So, but this chat is not to grind an axe in that way whatsoever. The purpose of this chat is to talk about Martin Luther's legacy as it relates to Israel. And so he wrote this book. So when he first came into this, he wrote the 99 Theses. He's rocking Christianity. He's causing a lot of thought and debate. And what he thought was that the Jews just hadn't heard a real gospel preached. And once they heard the true gospel preached, they would just all become Christians. And when that did not happen, he got really bitter towards the Jewish people. And that's later in life. He wrote the book. He advocated for horrific things like the burning of synagogues or the burning of their faith materials, or horrible things, horrible. And what winds up happening, there's more, but I don't want to get kicked off YouTube, so I'm not saying it, that he advocated for. But what I will say is that Hitler enacted, or not Hitler alone, Hitler didn't act alone. He had an entire nation following him, and those people, a lot of them, Luther's writings became really popular, and they read that, and they believed things that aren't true. They're lies about God's people. And so that enabled this mass hysteria towards this people group, and ultimately the horrific things that were done to them, which really dovetails into why I think these chats are important, because we need to not get carried away with the popular thought of our culture. We need to guard our hearts as it relates to all of this. So he wrote the book, and it became really popular hundreds of years later, and kind of got played out that what he wrote should be done was by and large done. And it feeds into what you believe in your heart, you will act on. And so part of these conversations are not to say that Israel is perfect politically or tactically in the decisions they make. What my point is that they have a right to exist, that this people group has a right to the land, and I believe they have a right to it based on humanitarian reasons. But even more, I believe they have a right to it because it is historically their land, and it was given to them. If you're a believer, and you look at what God said to Abraham, He gave the land to Abraham. And so for those reasons, it's their land, and it doesn't mean they're perfect, but no nation is perfect. I mean, my nation makes plenty of mistakes, in my opinion. And so but the point is that they deserve their nation, they deserve their land, and they have a right to exist. And beyond that, they have a right to not be persecuted for what their country does. We put the Japanese people in little camps during World War II because we were afraid of them, and now we look back on that with horror. How could we have treated those innocent people that way? And it's no different. Like, you may disagree with something politically, but to act against any people group outside of what your faith tells you is not something, it's not something history will remember well. It's not the moral high ground, in my opinion. And further, as a believer, if you find yourself fighting against this people group, I believe you're fighting against the apple of God's eyes. So it's not where you want to be.